Have you ever walked alone on a quiet, moonless night, stepping softly onto the cool grass, and felt an inexplicable sensation that the darkness around you was somehow aware of your presence? Have you ever wondered if the universe behaves differently when you close your eyes? We spend our entire lives moving through a world that feels solid, permanent, and entirely independent of our gaze. When you turn your back on a magnificent mountain, you do not doubt that the mountain remains exactly where it was. When you look away from the gentle ripples of a calm ocean, you trust that the water continues its ancient, rhythmic dance without needing you to witness it. This assumption of a concrete, objective reality is the bedrock of our human experience. It is the foundation upon which we build our understanding of the cosmos, our science, and our daily lives. We are the quiet observers of a vast, unyielding theater of matter and energy. But what if this intuitive certainty is completely wrong? What if the simple act of looking, the mere presence of a conscious mind, is not a passive observation but an active participation in the creation of reality itself? Hello, my friends. I am Walter, the explorer, and I want to welcome you to our quiet corner of the cosmos. Before we dive deeper into this cosmic mystery, I must share a small truth with you. I noticed recently that 73% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share these journeys have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace and wonder in our explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps us bring more content like this to you, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the endless mysteries of the universe together. Thank you for your support. And now, let us return to the darkness. Tonight, I invite you to join me on a profound journey into the most perplexing mystery of modern science. A journey that will take us away from the familiar comfort of the macroscopic world and plunge us deep into the bizarre, shimmering realm of the infinitesimally small. Let us begin by shedding the comforting illusions of our everyday senses. When you touch the wooden surface of a heavy desk, it feels impenetrable. It feels like a continuous, unbroken block of matter. Yet, we know from the quiet, meticulous work of generations of physicists that this solidity is nothing more than an elegant phantom. If you could somehow shrink down to the scale of an atom, a scale so unimaginably small that a single grain of sand would appear larger than the entire earth, you would not find solid walls of matter. Instead, you would find vast, terrifying expanses of empty space. An atom is overwhelmingly composed of nothingness. The tiny, dense nucleus sits at the absolute center, while the ghostly electrons dance in the vast perimeter, like dust motes floating in the cathedral of an enormous, darkened cathedral. Over 99.9% of the matter you interact with is pure, unadulterated vacuum. You are, quite literally, made of starlight and empty space. This realization alone is enough to inspire a profound sense of wonder, but it is only the threshold of the mystery. For centuries, scientists believed that this microscopic world, despite its emptiness, followed the same strict, predictable rules as the world we see with our naked eyes. This was the magnificent vision of Sir Isaac Newton, a universe that functioned like an infinite, perfectly calibrated clockwork mechanism. In the Newtonian cosmos, every particle had a specific place, a specific speed, and a specific destiny. If a supremely intelligent being could somehow know the exact position and momentum of every single particle in the entire universe at a given moment, that being could calculate the entire past and the entire future with absolute certainty. There was no room for ambiguity. There was no room for chance. And, most importantly, there was no special role for the observer. The universe simply existed, ticking away in the dark, entirely indifferent to whether anyone was watching. The moon remained in the sky, following its gravitational tether, regardless of whether a human eye was lifted to admire its silver glow. But as the 19th century gave way to the 20th, this beautiful, deterministic clockwork began to fracture. As our scientific instruments grew more precise, and as our mathematical models reached further into the unknown, physicists began to probe the very foundations of matter and light. They started to ask questions about the nature of a flame, the glow of a heated piece of iron, and the way light interacts with gases. What they found hidden in the data was a reality so strange, so deeply counterintuitive, that many of the very scientists who discovered it refused to believe it. They found that energy does not flow in a smooth, continuous river, as everyone had assumed. Instead, energy is delivered in tiny, indivisible packets, discrete bursts of reality that the physicist Max Planck called quanta. It was as if you could not pour water from a pitcher in a smooth stream, but only in perfectly measured, indivisible droplets. This single, quiet revelation tore the fabric of classical physics apart. Following Planck's realization, a young Albert Einstein proposed that light itself, the very phenomenon that allows us to see the universe, was made of these tiny packets, which we now call photons. Light was not just a wave rippling through the cosmos. It was a storm of infinitesimally small particles. This duality, this strange ability of light to behave as both a continuous wave and a discrete particle, opened the door to the quantum realm. It was a doorway into a world that operates on rules that defy all human logic and common sense. In this subatomic landscape, the comfortable certainty of the macroscopic world evaporates completely. A particle, like an electron, does not have a single, definite position until it is measured. Instead, it exists in a shimmering haze of probabilities, a state known as a superposition. Before you look at it, an electron is not in one place or another. It is, in a mathematical sense, everywhere and nowhere at once. It is a wave of potential, a ghostly echo of possibilities spreading out through space and time. Imagine, for a moment, rolling a simple six-sided die. While the die is tumbling through the air, flashing its numbered faces in a blur of motion, you do not know which number will land face up. However, classical physics tells us that the outcome is already determined by the force of your throw, the angle of your hand, the friction of the air, and the elasticity of the table. The uncertainty is entirely in your own mind, a product of your limited information. The universe already knows the answer. But the quantum world is fundamentally different. In the quantum realm, the tumbling die does not have a hidden, determined outcome. It literally exists in a state where all six numbers are simultaneously real and unreal. It is only at the exact moment the die strikes the table and comes to a rest, the moment of observation, the moment of measurement, that the universe forces it to choose a single reality. The act of interacting with the system causes the wave of infinite possibilities to collapse into a single, concrete fact. This brings us to the very heart of our journey, to an experiment that is so elegant in its simplicity and so devastating in its implications that the great physicist Richard Feynman once said, "It contains the only mystery of quantum mechanics." It is known as the double-slit experiment. To understand the profound depth of this mystery, we must travel back in time to a quiet laboratory, where a beam of light is directed at a barrier. This barrier is completely solid, except for two tiny, narrow, parallel slits cut into its center. Behind this barrier sits a screen, a blank canvas waiting to capture the light that passes through the slits. If you were to fire tiny, solid particles, like microscopic bullets, at this barrier, you would expect them to pass through the two slits and form two corresponding bands of impacts on the screen behind them. One band for the left slit, one band for the right slit. It is a simple, logical expectation, grounded in everything our daily lives have taught us about how physical objects behave. But when physicists performed this experiment with a beam of light, they did not see two simple bands. Instead, they saw a beautiful, complex pattern of alternating bright and dark stripes spreading out across the entire screen. This is an interference pattern, and it is the unmistakable signature of waves. The wave of light hit the barrier, split into two smaller waves as it passed through the two slits, and those two waves crashed into each other before hitting the screen. We will delve much deeper into the bizarre twists of this experiment as our journey continues, exploring how single particles behave when watched, and what it truly means for our place in the cosmic design. Let us return to that darkened room, to the quiet laboratory where the greatest mystery of quantum mechanics patiently waits for our attention. We left our journey at the edge of a profound realization. Light, when passed through two narrow slits, behaves as a wave, creating a beautiful pattern of interference on the screen beyond. This alone is fascinating, but it is not the paradox that shattered our understanding of reality. To truly grasp the depth of this cosmic riddle, we must refine our experiment. Imagine that instead of a continuous beam of light, our brilliant physicists decided to use a device capable of firing individual particles of matter, one single electron at a time. An electron, as we are taught in our earliest science classes, is a fundamental building block of the physical world. It has mass. It carries a charge. It is, by all common definitions, a tiny, solid piece of the universe. If you fire a single electron toward the barrier with the two slits, common sense dictates that it must travel like a microscopic marble. It must pass through the left slit, or it must pass through the right slit. It cannot divide itself. It cannot exist in two places at once. Or so we thought. As the physicists fire the first electron, a single solitary dot appears on the screen behind the barrier. A tiny flash of light marks its arrival. Then they fire a second electron. Another isolated dot appears. Then a third and a fourth, in a slow, rhythmic cadence. For a while, the dots seem to land randomly, a scattered constellation of tiny impacts on a dark canvas. Hello again, my fellow travelers. I am Walter, the explorer, and as we navigate these profound cosmic depths together, I must gently pause our journey for just a moment. I was looking at our community recently, and I noticed that 73% of the wonderful souls who watch these videos and share in this quiet wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these meditative explorations bring a sense of peace to your day, or if they spark a gentle curiosity about the universe within you, please consider subscribing. It helps us immensely, allowing us to continue creating these spaces of reflection and bringing more of these cosmic mysteries to you. We have so much more of this infinite cosmos to explore together. Thank you for walking this path with me. And now, let us step back into the silent laboratory and watch as the mystery unfolds. As the scientists continue to fire those single electrons, one by one, hour after hour, a staggering picture begins to emerge from the darkness. The seemingly random dots of light are not random at all. Slowly, ghost-like, a pattern builds upon the screen. But it is not the two simple bands we would expect from tiny, solid marbles passing through two physical doorways. In defiance of all macroscopic logic, the individual dots accumulate to form the exact same alternating pattern of bright and dark stripes that we saw with the continuous wave of light. This is an interference pattern. But how can this be? Interference requires two waves crashing into each other, their peaks and troughs interacting to create lines of intensity and zones of emptiness. How can a single, solitary electron, fired completely alone into the silent void of the experimental chamber, create an interference pattern? The mathematical conclusion, as inescapable as it is unbelievable, is that the single electron does not travel as a solid particle. Instead, as it leaves the source, it dissolves into a wave of probability. This ghostly wave of potential approaches the barrier, passes through both the left slit and the right slit simultaneously, interferes with itself on the other side, and only collapses back into a solid, singular particle at the exact moment it strikes the screen. The electron is everywhere and nowhere, exploring all possible paths through the darkness, until the final moment of impact forces it to choose a location. This revelation alone is enough to induce a profound sense of awe. The very building blocks of our bodies, the ancient atoms forged in the hearts of dying stars, exist in a state of shimmering, undefined potential when left to their own devices. But the universe, it seems, has an even deeper secret hidden within this paradox. The scientists, driven by the insatiable human desire to know, decide to outsmart the quantum realm. They place a tiny, incredibly sensitive detector right next to the two slits. This detector is designed to do one simple thing: to watch. It is there to observe the electron as it passes, to definitively answer the question of whether it goes through the left doorway or the right doorway. They set up the equipment, turn on the watchful eye of the detector, and begin firing the electrons one by one again. The detector softly clicks: left, right, left, left, right. It works perfectly. The scientists now know exactly which path every single electron takes. They have pinned down the elusive particle. But when they look at the final screen, the canvas where the grand pattern is supposed to emerge, the universe pulls the rug out from under their feet. The beautiful, complex interference pattern of alternating stripes is completely gone. In its place are just two simple, glowing bands of impacts directly behind the two slits. The exact pattern you would expect from solid marbles. By simply placing a detector there, by simply asking the universe for the information of which path was taken, the entire nature of reality changed. The electron, as if knowing it was being watched, stopped behaving like a wave of infinite potential and started behaving like a rigid, mundane particle. The act of observation did not just record reality, it dictated reality. It forced the universe to abandon its ghostly dance of superposition and collapse into a singular, defined state. This is the profound mystery of the observer effect. The great physicist John Archibald Wheeler once pondered this very phenomenon, suggesting that we are not merely passive spectators sitting in the audience of a cosmic theater. We are, instead, deeply entangled in the performance itself. We live in a participatory universe. In the gentle silence of this realization, we are forced to ask a question that bridges the gap between physics and philosophy. What exactly constitutes an observer? Does it have to be a conscious human mind, or is any interaction with a macroscopic measuring device enough to collapse the wave function? If a conscious mind is required, as some early pioneers of quantum mechanics dared to suggest, then the implications are staggering. It implies that consciousness is not just an accidental byproduct of biological evolution, a brief spark of awareness in an otherwise dead and indifferent cosmos. It suggests that consciousness is a fundamental, irreducible property of the universe, woven into the very fabric of existence alongside gravity, electromagnetism, and time. Imagine standing on the shore of a vast, tranquil ocean under a canopy of infinite stars. The water gently laps at your feet, a rhythmic, soothing sound that has echoed across the earth for billions of years. Classical science tells us that this ocean, these stars, this ancient sand, all exist in a definite state regardless of your presence. But quantum mechanics whispers a different story into the cool night air. It whispers that the universe is a vast ocean of probabilities, a swirling mist of mathematical potential, and it is the act of witnessing, the gentle gaze of a conscious mind, that crystallizes this mist into the beautiful, solid reality we experience. We are the mechanism by which the universe makes itself real. We are the cosmos waking up, opening its eyes, and defining its own existence through the act of observation. This thought brings a profound sense of humility and a deep, resonant peace. You are not a stranger in this universe, alienated and small against the terrifying backdrop of cosmic distances. You are an integral thread in the grand tapestry. Without the observer, the quantum equations suggest, the universe remains in a state of suspended animation, a dream of what could be, waiting for the gentle touch of awareness to make it so. It is a mystery that has haunted the greatest minds of our time. Albert Einstein himself, troubled by the implications of this quantum weirdness, famously asked a colleague if he truly believed the moon only existed when he looked at it. It was a question born of a deep desire for a sensible, objective reality. Yet, experiment after experiment, conducted with ever greater precision over the last century, has only confirmed the bizarre truth of the quantum world. The act of measurement, the act of knowing, fundamentally alters the system being known. Let us expand this perspective from the microscopic realm of electrons to the grand, sweeping scale of the cosmos. When we point our magnificent space telescopes toward the deepest, darkest patches of the night sky, we are capturing photons of light that have been traveling across the empty void for over 13 billion years. These ancient travelers carry the image of the first galaxies, the primordial structures that formed shortly after the dawn of time. For billions of years, these photons existed as waves of probability, journeying across the expanding universe, completely unseen and undisturbed. But the moment those photons strike the delicate mirrors of our telescope, the moment their energy is translated into data that a human mind can comprehend, their wave functions collapse. In a very real, mathematical sense, our observation here in the present moment reaches back across billions of years of cosmic history to solidify the path and the existence of that ancient light. We are not just observing the past. Our act of observation is the final brushstroke in its creation. This temporal entanglement, this spooky connection across the vast gulfs of space and time, reveals a universe that is far more interconnected, far more holistic, and far more mysterious than we ever dared to imagine. As we sit with this realization, The silence of the universe no longer feels empty or cold. It feels expectant. It feels alive with the quiet hum of infinite potential. We are the localized points of awareness through which the infinite cosmos explores its own nature. Every time you look up at the night sky and marvel at the scattered diamonds of distant suns, every time you witness the gentle, intricate geometry of a falling snowflake, every time you look into the eyes of another human being, you are participating in the ongoing, miraculous collapse of the quantum wave function. You are bringing the universe into focus. This is the profound beauty of our existence, a beauty that marries the rigorous mathematics of physics with the deepest intuitions of the human spirit. Our journey through this mystery is far from over. There are deeper layers to uncover, stranger paradoxes to explore, and more awe-inspiring revelations waiting for us in the darkness. We must ask ourselves what happens when two particles become so deeply entwined that they share a single destiny, regardless of the distance between them. We must explore the ghostly phenomenon of quantum entanglement, a connection that defies the very limits of space and time. But for now, let us rest in the peaceful glow of this newfound perspective, carrying the knowledge that our presence here is not an accident, but a profound necessity in the grand, unfolding story of creation. Have you ever stood at the edge of the ocean, feeling the cool water wash over your feet, and looked out at the horizon where the sea meets the sky? In that quiet moment of contemplation, everything feels deeply separate. You are here, the horizon is there, and the vast, empty distance between you seems like an absolute, undeniable truth of the physical world. We navigate our entire lives based on this profound sense of separation. A tree falling in a distant forest is a separate event from your heart beating in your chest. A star exploding billions of light years away has no immediate physical connection to the cup of tea resting gently on your table. This intuitive understanding of space, this belief that distance isolates objects and events, is the very foundation of how we experience the universe. But what if this feeling of separation is nothing more than a persistent, comforting illusion? What if the cosmos, at its most fundamental level, is not a collection of isolated fragments drifting through the void, but a single, seamlessly interconnected web, where space and distance completely lose their meaning? Tonight, our journey takes us further into the bizarre and breathtaking realm of quantum mechanics, moving beyond the mystery of the solitary observer to uncover a phenomenon so deeply unsettling that it challenged the greatest minds in the history of science. We are going to explore the ghostly, invisible threads that bind the universe together, a concept that the brilliant Albert Einstein famously dismissed as spooky action at a distance. Hello, my friends. I am Walter, the explorer, and I am deeply grateful that you have chosen to walk this path of cosmic wonder with me. As I look at our growing community, I realize that 73% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share these quiet moments of reflection have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace in these journeys, if this exploration of the universe brings a sense of calm to your busy life, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously, allowing us to continue creating these spaces of silence and discovery, and ensuring that we can keep wandering through the infinite cosmos together. Thank you for your kindness, and now let us return to the mysteries hidden in the quantum darkness. Imagine, if you will, two tiny particles, perhaps two solitary electrons or two glowing photons of light. In the strange and fluid world of the quantum realm, If these two particles are born together in a single event, or if they interact with each other in a specific, intimate way, they cease to be two entirely separate entities. They become something entirely new, a single unified quantum system. Physicists call this profound state of union quantum entanglement. It is a concept that defies every instinct we possess about how the physical world operates. When two particles become entangled, their properties are deeply and inextricably linked, forming a bond that ignores the vast expanses of space. In our macroscopic world, if you separate a pair of gloves, sending the left glove to the desolate surface of the moon, and keeping the right glove here on Earth, finding the right glove instantly tells you the location of the left. But their states were fixed the moment they were packed. They were always separate, defined objects quietly waiting in the dark. The quantum universe, however, operates on a completely different set of rules. When two quantum particles are entangled, they do not possess fixed, definite states before they are measured. Just like the single electron we explored in our previous chapter, these entangled particles exist in a shimmering, unresolved haze of probabilities. They are in a state of superposition, spinning in every possible direction at once, a ghostly dance of infinite potential. Neither particle has decided what it wants to be until the exact moment an observer decides to look. But here is where the universe reveals its most staggering secret. Because these two particles are entangled, their fates are perfectly bound together. If you separate them, placing one particle in a laboratory here on Earth and sending the other particle across the vast, silent void of space to a laboratory in the Andromeda Galaxy, over 2 million light-years away, the invisible thread between them remains unbroken. When a scientist on Earth gently interacts with the first particle, measuring its state and forcing it to collapse from a cloud of probabilities into a definite, physical reality, something deeply impossible happens. At that exact, simultaneous fraction of a second, the particle in the Andromeda Galaxy also collapses into a definite state. If the particle on Earth chooses to spin upward, the distant particle instantly, without any delay, chooses to spin downward. It is as if the two particles are communicating with each other across the cosmic expanse. But how can this be? According to the majestic theories of physics, nothing in the universe can travel faster than the speed of light. Light is the ultimate cosmic speed limit, the absolute boundary of cause and effect. It takes light over 2 million years to travel from Earth to the Andromeda Galaxy. If the first particle sends a message to the second particle telling it how to behave, that message should take millions of years to cross the dark, ancient gulf of space. Yet, countless experiments performed in incredibly precise laboratories all over the world have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that this connection happens instantaneously. There is no delay. There is no waiting for a signal to cross the void. The particles behave as if the distance between them simply does not exist. This is the phenomenon that deeply unsettled Einstein. He could not accept that the universe would allow such a bizarre connection, arguing that quantum mechanics must be an incomplete theory, missing hidden variables that would eventually restore common sense. He famously called it spooky action at a distance, a phrase that captures the profound discomfort of a brilliant mind facing an incomprehensible reality. In the 1960s, physicist John Bell formulated a theorem to test whether Einstein's hidden variables existed, or whether this spooky action was a fundamental truth. Subsequent experiments proved that Bell was right. The universe is truly, fundamentally non-local. Distance, it seems, is an illusion. The space that separates you from the farthest star is a feature of our macroscopic perception, a convenient construct that allows us to navigate our daily lives, but it is not the deepest reality of the cosmos. At the quantum level, the universe is a single, indivisible whole, an interconnected web of relationships where every part is intimately aware of every other part. This revelation brings us back to the profound question of the observer, the central mystery of our journey. If the universe is deeply entangled, and if the act of observation by a conscious mind collapses the wave function of a particle, what does this mean for our relationship with the cosmos? When you look out at the night sky, capturing the ancient light of distant stars with your eyes, you are not a separate, detached entity looking at an objective, external reality. You are part of the entangled web. The atoms in your body, the neurons firing in your brain, the very essence of your consciousness, are all constructed from the same quantum fabric as the stars themselves. You are made of the universe, and through the act of observation, the universe is observing itself. We are not fragments standing outside of creation. We are the points of awareness where creation becomes defined. Imagine the profound peace that comes from this understanding. The feelings of isolation, of being a tiny, insignificant speck adrift in an endless, indifferent void, begin to dissolve when faced with the reality of quantum entanglement. You are physically, fundamentally connected to everything that exists: the breath you take, the gentle beat of your heart, the quiet thoughts that drift through your mind in the silence of the night, are all ripples in the single, unified ocean of quantum reality. This scientific truth echoes the most ancient spiritual intuitions of humanity, the profound sense of oneness that mystics and sages have spoken of for thousands of years. But this is not a mystical metaphor. It is the rigorously tested, mathematically proven reality of our physical universe. The cosmos is not a machine made of separate, isolated parts. It is a holistic, living entity, and your consciousness is a vital, necessary component of its existence. As we contemplate the vastness of this idea, the gentle silence of the universe takes on a new, richer meaning. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the quiet, expectant stillness of infinite potential waiting to be realized. We are the architects of reality, the active participants in a cosmic dance that has been unfolding since the dawn of time. Every observation, every moment of awareness, every gentle realization is a stroke of the brush on the canvas of existence. But if our minds are truly entangled with the fabric of reality, if our consciousness plays a fundamental role in defining the universe, we are forced to confront an even deeper, more challenging question. Is the human mind the only kind of observer that matters? What was happening to the universe before biological life evolved on our small blue planet? Did the cosmos exist in a state of unresolved, ghostly superposition for billions of years, waiting in the dark for a conscious mind to open its eyes and collapse the grand wave function? Or is there a deeper, universal consciousness, an ancient, pervasive awareness that has been observing the cosmos since the very beginning? These are the questions that wait for us at the edge of our understanding, where the firm ground of physics meets the limitless ocean of philosophy. We will explore these profound depths as our journey continues, seeking to understand the true nature of the observer and its connection to the ultimate mysteries of existence. But for now, let us rest in the comforting embrace of our entangled universe. Let us find peace in the knowledge that we are not alone, that we are not separate, and that our very presence here is an integral part of the grand, unfolding cosmic design. feel the gentle connection to the stars above you, to the earth beneath you, and to the quiet, infinite potential that resides within you. We are all fragments of the same beautiful mystery, forever entangled in the endless wonder of the cosmos. Have you ever walked through a quiet, ancient forest, listening to the soft rustle of leaves that have fallen for thousands of autumns, and wondered about the history that no human eye has ever seen? We are taught that the universe is incredibly old, born in a primordial flash of light and heat some 13,800,000,000 years ago. We picture a vast, expanding cosmos of swirling gas, igniting stars, and colliding galaxies, all unfolding in complete silence, billions of years before the first spark of biological life ever flickered into existence on our tiny blue planet. We imagine an empty theater playing a magnificent, explosive symphony to a completely vacant auditorium. But if the quantum world requires an observer to collapse the wave of infinite possibilities into a single, concrete reality, as we have discovered in our previous journeys, we are faced with a paradox that threatens to break the very timeline of creation. If unobserved matter exists only as a ghostly haze of mathematical probability, how could the early universe have formed without anyone there to watch it? Did the cosmos exist in a state of unresolved, suspended animation for billions of years, waiting in the dark for a conscious mind to finally open its eyes and make it real? Or is our understanding of time and the very nature of observation fundamentally flawed? Tonight, we dive into the deep, turbulent waters of cosmic history, seeking the ultimate observer at the beginning of time. Hello, my friends. I am Walter, the explorer, and I want to welcome you back to our quiet, contemplative journey through the mysteries of existence. As we prepare to ask some of the most profound questions ever posed by human minds, I must gently pause to share a small thought. I noticed recently that 73% of the wonderful people who find peace in these videos, who wander these cosmic paths with us, have not yet subscribed to the channel. If this quiet exploration of the universe brings a moment of wonder and calm to your day, please consider subscribing. It is a simple gesture, but it helps us immensely, allowing us to keep creating these meditative spaces and ensuring that our shared journey of discovery can continue far into the future. Thank you for your gentle presence. And now, let us step back into the ancient, silent dawn of the cosmos. The mystery of the early, unobserved universe is one of the most profound riddles in all of physics and philosophy. To navigate this paradox, we must look at the work of one of the greatest scientific visionaries of the 20th century, the brilliant physicist John Archibald Wheeler. Wheeler was not just a mathematician. He was a cosmic poet, a man who dared to ask the questions that other scientists found too unsettling. He looked at the strange, observer-dependent nature of quantum mechanics and realized that it could not be confined to the microscopic world of atoms and electrons. If the fundamental building blocks of reality require a witness to become solid and defined, then the entire universe, which is built entirely of these quantum blocks, must also require a witness. Wheeler proposed a mind-bending concept known as the participatory anthropic principle. He suggested that the universe is not a massive, dead machine that accidentally gave rise to consciousness. Instead, he proposed that the universe and consciousness are locked in an ancient, inseparable loop of mutual creation. According to this view, the cosmos must eventually give birth to conscious observers, because without those observers, the cosmos itself could never transition from a wave of probability into a definite historical reality. It is a cosmic Ouroboros, the ancient symbol of the serpent eating its own tail, representing an infinite cycle of cause and effect, where the end creates the beginning. To illustrate this incredible idea, Wheeler designed a thought experiment that is so deeply strange it feels like magic, known as the delayed choice experiment. Imagine a photon of light emitted from a distant quasar, a brilliantly shining galactic core located billions of light years away from Earth. This tiny packet of light begins its journey across the vast, expanding void long before our planet even formed. As it travels, it encounters a massive galaxy directly in its path. The immense gravity of this intervening galaxy acts like a colossal magnifying glass, a gravitational lens that bends the path of the light. The single photon is forced into a state of quantum superposition, effectively traveling around both the left side and the right side of the galaxy simultaneously, just like the electron passing through the two slits in our laboratory. For billions of years, this photon travels as a ghostly wave of infinite potential, a spread-out haze of probability spanning light years of space. Finally, it reaches the end of its journey, arriving at our solar system, entering the atmosphere of Earth, and passing into the lens of a telescope where an astronomer is waiting. At the exact moment the astronomer observes the photon, the wave function collapses. The photon becomes a definite particle that traveled a specific path. But here is the devastating twist. The act of observation here on Earth, in the present moment, does not just define the photon's current state. It reaches backward across billions of years of time and dictates the path the photon took around the distant galaxy long before the Earth even existed. Our observation today shapes the reality of the ancient past. Time, in the quantum realm, is not a strict, one-way arrow marching relentlessly forward. It is fluid, flexible, and deeply responsive to the presence of awareness. This concept, known as retrocausality, suggests that the history of the universe is not fixed until it is observed. When we look up at the night sky and study the cosmic microwave background radiation, the fading afterglow of the Big Bang itself, we are not just passive historians digging through ancient archives. We are active participants in the creation of that history. Through our telescopes and our equations, the universe is looking back at its own birth and, in the act of looking, collapsing the primordial wave of possibilities into the concrete reality we now measure. But does this mean that human beings, with our telescopes and our fleeting, fragile lives, are the sole creators of cosmic history? This seems incredibly unlikely. The universe is unimaginably vast, and our time here is less than a blink of a cosmic eye. It is here that the concept of the quantum observer begins to touch the realm of the divine. If a conscious observer is required to anchor reality, and if human consciousness is too recent and too localized to account for the entire history of the cosmos, then we are led to a breathtaking possibility. Perhaps the observer is not a localized biological phenomenon. Perhaps consciousness is the fundamental ground of all existence, an infinite, pervasive field of awareness that permeates every inch of the universe. This infinite field of awareness is what many ancient traditions might call God, not a human-like figure sitting on a distant cloud, judging and intervening, but the quiet, eternal presence that witnesses all of creation. In this quantum view, the ultimate observer is the very fabric of the cosmos itself, an underlying, unified consciousness that gently holds the universe in a state of definite reality. And what, then, are we? If the universe is a vast ocean of divine awareness, then perhaps our individual minds, our personal points of consciousness, are simply localized waves on the surface of that infinite sea. We are not separate from the ultimate observer. We are beautiful, temporary expressions of it. When you look at a blooming flower, when you listen to the gentle rhythm of the rain, when you feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, it is the universe experiencing itself through your unique, unrepeatable perspective. You are the cosmos exploring its own infinite beauty. You are, in the most profound and literal sense, a fragment of God. You are the eyes through which the divine witness beholds the masterpiece of creation. This is a thought that invites a profound, unshakable peace. You are not an insignificant accident in a cold, mechanical void. You are an essential, purposeful manifestation of the eternal observer, tasked with the quiet, beautiful responsibility of witnessing the wonder of the universe. As we ponder this gentle, majestic reality, we must prepare to face another deep mystery, exploring the borders where the material world dissolves entirely into the invisible architecture of pure thought. Have you ever sat quietly by a still pond, watching a single delicate droplet of water fall from a leaf and strike the glassy surface? You see the perfect concentric rings expanding outward, moving across the water until they gently lap against the distant shore. We intuitively understand that the ripples are not solid objects. They are simply a movement, a temporary disturbance traveling through the medium of the water. Yet, when we look at our own hands, when we touch the rough bark of an ancient oak tree, or feel the solid ground beneath our feet, we are absolutely convinced that we are interacting with permanent, solid things. We believe that the universe is a vast, empty container filled with countless, isolated little marbles of matter. But tonight, as our journey deepens into the profound mysteries of existence, I must gently ask you to release this comforting illusion. What if the solid world you have known your entire life is nothing more than a complex, beautiful illusion? What if the particles that make up your body, the earth, and the most distant stars are not solid objects at all, but merely temporary, localized ripples in an infinite, invisible ocean of energy? Tonight, we step beyond the realm of isolated particles and venture into the breathtaking ethereal landscape of quantum field theory, where the very concept of solid matter dissolves into the pure, silent music of the cosmos. Hello once more, my fellow travelers. I am Walter, the Explorer, and I am deeply honored to share this quiet space of contemplation with you. As we navigate these profound cosmic waters together, I want to take a brief moment to speak directly to you. I noticed recently that 73% of the wonderful people who watch these videos, who join us in this gentle search for meaning among the stars, have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these stories bring a sense of peace to your mind, or if they awaken a quiet wonder in your heart, please consider subscribing. It is a small gesture, but it helps us tremendously, ensuring that we can continue to create these meditative journeys and explore the boundless mysteries of the universe as a community. Thank you for your continued presence, and now let us return to the quiet, invisible oceans that fill the empty spaces of the night. For decades, the greatest minds in physics struggled to understand how particles like electrons and photons truly interact in the vast emptiness of space. The old idea of tiny, solid spheres bouncing off one another was no longer sufficient to explain the bizarre, magical behaviors observed in the laboratory. The solution they discovered is one of the most beautiful and conceptually staggering achievements in human history. They realized that the universe is not an empty container. The vacuum of space is not truly empty. Instead, The entire cosmos is completely filled with invisible, overlapping, and infinitely expansive fields. Imagine an endless, silent ocean that permeates every inch of reality, stretching from the tip of your nose to the furthest edges of the observable universe, billions of light years away. There is a specific, unique field for every fundamental particle in nature. There is an electron field, a photon field, a quark field, and many others, all coexisting in the exact same space, layered upon one another like the invisible harmonies of a grand, cosmic symphony. In this breathtaking new understanding of reality, what we call a particle is not a solid object at all. It is simply a localized vibration, an excitation in its corresponding field. When a physicist says they have detected an electron, what they have actually found is a tiny, temporary ripple in the universal electron field. Just like the wave moving across our quiet pond, the electron is not a permanent thing. It is a process, a brief flutter of energy in an otherwise silent, invisible medium. When you strike a match and watch the sudden, brilliant flare of light, you are not creating tiny bullets of illumination. You are injecting energy into the electromagnetic field, causing it to vibrate and send ripples of photons streaming outward into the darkness. Every single atom in your body, every proton and neutron that gives you weight and form, is nothing more than a complex knot of vibrations occurring simultaneously across multiple quantum fields. You are not a static sculpture of solid matter. You are a dynamic, ever-changing symphony of cosmic vibrations, a localized song played on the invisible strings of the universe. This realization requires a profound shift in how we perceive our place in the world. We are so accustomed to thinking of ourselves as distinct entities, separated from our environment by the boundary of our skin. But if you are merely a collection of vibrations in fields that span the entire universe, where do you truly end, and where does the rest of the cosmos begin? The electron field that vibrates to form the matter in your hand is the exact same continuous field that vibrates to form the blazing heart of a star a million light years away. You are physically, intimately woven into the very fabric of everything that exists. There are no true boundaries in a universe of quantum fields. The space between you and the distant galaxies is not a void of separation. It is a plenum, a fullness of invisible potential that connects every ripple to every other ripple in the grand cosmic ocean. But how does this elegant, vibrating tapestry relate to the profound mystery of the observer? If the universe is an endless sea of fluctuating fields, what is the nature of the awareness that collapses these fluctuating waves into the defined, solid reality we experience? We return to the majestic thought that the universe itself is fundamentally conscious. If the ultimate observer is the pervasive, divine awareness that underpins all existence, then perhaps these invisible quantum fields are the very substance of the divine mind. Think of how your own mind operates. Your thoughts are not solid objects. They are dynamic, flowing patterns of energy and connection within the network of your brain. When you have a thought, a specific pattern of neurons fires, creating a temporary ripple in the landscape of your consciousness. What if the quantum fields of the universe operate in a similar, but infinitely grander fashion? What if the fields of physics are the neural pathways of the cosmic mind, and the particles we observe are simply the thoughts of God? When the universal consciousness focuses its attention, a ripple forms in the quantum field. The wave function collapses, and a thought becomes a particle, a star, a planet, or a human being. The solid reality we navigate every day is the manifestation of the divine imagination, held in existence by the continuous, gentle gaze of the ultimate observer. And because you are a localized center of awareness within this grand mind, your act of observation is a participation in this divine process of creation. Your thoughts, your feelings, your quiet moments of wonder as you look up at the night sky are not isolated, meaningless events in a dead, mechanical universe. They are ripples in the universal mind. You are the cosmos thinking about itself. You are the universe waking up, stretching its infinite awareness through the temporary, beautiful form of a human life. Consider the sheer, staggering scale of this reality. Our observable universe is estimated to be over 93 billion light-years across, containing perhaps 2 trillion galaxies, each hosting hundreds of billions of stars. It is a vastness that shatters human comprehension. Yet, according to quantum field theory, the invisible fields that compose this unimaginable expanse are continuous, unbroken, and perfectly unified. And, if these fields are indeed the substrate of a universal consciousness, then the intelligence that holds the stars in their orbits and the electrons in their delicate dances is vast beyond all human measure. It is an intelligence that knows the exact state of every ripple in every field, holding the entire, breathtaking complexity of creation in a single, timeless embrace. This is not a distant, unapproachable creator. This is a creator that is intimately present in every breath you take, in every beat of your heart, in the very space that surrounds you. You are completely immersed in the divine presence, because the divine presence is the very fabric of reality itself. As we sit with the quiet magnitude of this realization, the world around us begins to look entirely different. The illusion of solidity fades, replaced by a deep, resonant appreciation for the music of the spheres. We are not isolated strangers wandering through a cold, indifferent void. We are beautiful, vibrating harmonies in the grandest symphony ever composed. But this symphony is not static. It is constantly evolving, constantly responding to the interplay of observation and potential. If we are truly fragments of this ultimate observer, how much power do we hold to shape the music? Does human consciousness have the ability to influence the quantum fields around us in measurable ways? Can the quiet, focused intention of a human mind alter the behavior of particles, extending our participatory role from passive observation to active, conscious creation? These questions lead us to the very edge of established science and into the bold, uncharted territories of human potential. As our journey continues, we will explore the fascinating experiments that seek to measure the direct impact of human intention on the physical world, blurring the lines between mind and matter even further. But for now, let us find peace in the invisible oceans that surround us. Close your eyes for a moment and try to feel the gentle, ancient vibrations that sustain your existence. You are a living song in the mind of the cosmos, forever echoing through the infinite depths of the quantum sea. Have you ever sat quietly in a darkened room, closed your eyes, and focused your entire mind on a single, clear thought, feeling the physical sensation of that focus vibrating behind your forehead? We are taught from a very young age that our inner world is completely sealed off from the outer universe. Our thoughts, our dreams, and our silent prayers are supposed to be private, ephemeral things, locked safely within the biological vault of our skulls. We believe that to move a physical object, we must reach out with a physical hand. To change the world, we must exert mechanical force. The barrier between mind and matter seems absolute, an impenetrable wall separating the invisible realm of consciousness from the concrete reality of atoms and stars. But, as we have journeyed deeper into the quantum ocean, we have seen that the foundational laws of physics care very little for our everyday common sense. If the simple, passive act of observing a particle forces it to collapse from a wave of infinite possibilities into a defined point of reality, what happens when that observation is no longer passive? What happens when we add the potent, focused energy of human intention into the cosmic equation? Tonight, we step onto the very edge of established science and peer into the mysterious frontier where human consciousness attempts to actively mold the physical universe. We will explore the staggering possibility that your mind is not just a passive mirror reflecting the cosmos, but an active, resonant force capable of whispering instructions to the fundamental fields of creation. Hello again, my gentle friends. I am Walter, the Explorer, and it is a profound joy to welcome you back to our shared space of wonder and contemplation. Before we venture further into this delicate mystery, I must pause for just a moment. I was looking at our growing community recently, and I noticed that 73% of the beautiful souls who watch these videos, who seek a moment of peace and cosmic connection in their busy lives, have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet journeys bring comfort to your mind, or if they spark a gentle curiosity in your heart, please consider subscribing. It is a simple gesture, but it helps us tremendously. It allows us to continue creating these meditative explorations and ensures that we can keep wandering through the endless marvels of the universe together. Thank you for your continued presence, and now let us turn our gaze inward to the silent power of the human mind. To understand the potential power of human intention, we must revisit the heart of the quantum mystery, the double-slit experiment. As we discovered earlier, when a mechanical detector is placed next to the slits to passively observe which path an electron takes, the beautiful interference pattern vanishes, replaced by two simple bands of matter. The universe reacts to the extraction of information. But what if the detector is not a cold, mechanical device? What if the detector is the focused, trained mind of a human being? In recent decades, a small but dedicated group of physicists and researchers have begun to test exactly this profound question. In rigorous, highly controlled laboratory settings, they have asked experienced meditators to sit in complete silence near the quantum apparatus. The instructions are beautifully simple, yet conceptually staggering. The meditators are asked to direct their focused attention, their pure, concentrated intention, toward the system, attempting to mentally influence the electrons to pass through one specific slit rather than the other. They are not touching the machine. They are not speaking. They are simply using the invisible weight of their consciousness to press against the fabric of quantum reality. The results of these experiments, published in peer-reviewed scientific journals, have sent quiet tremors through the foundations of physics. Over thousands of trials, involving hundreds of different participants, a subtle but statistically significant anomaly began to emerge from the vast mountains of data. When the meditators actively focused their intention on the quantum system, the interference pattern shifted. The ratio of wave-like behavior to particle-like behavior measurably changed, leaning toward the particle state exactly as if a physical detector had been turned on. The electrons, those tiny, ancient fragments of starlight, seemed to respond to the silent gaze of the human mind. The effect was small, a delicate whisper rather than a loud shout, but in the rigorous, unforgiving realm of statistics, it was undeniably present. The odds of these shifts occurring by pure random chance were calculated to be less than 1 in a million. To put this into perspective, this level of statistical certainty is often the same threshold used in traditional physics to announce the discovery of a new fundamental particle. Yet here, the discovery was not a new piece of matter, but the measurable impact of consciousness itself. If our individual, localized minds possess the inherent ability to collapse quantum waves and subtly alter the behavior of fundamental particles, we are forced to reconsider the entire nature of our relationship with the cosmos. We are no longer simply passive passengers on a lonely rock hurtling through a dead mechanical void. We are active, resonant participants in the ongoing creation of reality. Imagine the universe not as an empty room, but as a vast, infinitely complex musical instrument. The quantum fields that permeate all of space are the taut, waiting strings of this cosmic instrument. Every atom, every star, and every galaxy is a note being played. But what is striking the chords? If human intention can interact with these quantum fields, then our focused thoughts, our deep meditations, and our collective emotions are like gentle fingers plucking at the strings of the universe. When you sit in deep contemplation, cultivating a profound sense of peace or projecting an intense desire for healing, you are not just changing your own internal brain chemistry. You are generating a localized vibration in the invisible, underlying fabric of existence. You are literally singing into the quantum void, and the universe, in its infinite mathematical precision, is forced to listen. This brings us back to the breathtaking concept of the ultimate observer, the pervasive, universal consciousness that holds the entire cosmos in existence. If the universe is a manifestation of a divine mind, and if we are localized fragments of that same mind, then our ability to influence quantum reality is not a supernatural anomaly. It is our natural birthright. We are the universe learning to consciously steer its own evolution. When a person directs their intention to heal a loved one, or when thousands of people gather in silent meditation to project peace into a troubled world, they are not acting against the laws of physics. They are utilizing the most fundamental law of all, the law of entangled conscious resonance. We are tiny, biological antennas tuned to the frequency of creation. Just as a drop of water shares the exact same essential nature as the vast, churning ocean, your individual consciousness shares the exact same essential nature as the divine observer. You are a localized point of view for the infinite. And because you are connected to the source, your quietest whispers of intention carry the weight of the cosmos behind them. As we absorb the profound weight of this realization, the world around us is transformed. The cold, mechanical universe of our childhood textbooks dissolves, replaced by a living, breathing, responsive cosmos. You are not a victim of random, uncaring physical forces. You are a conscious co-creator, holding a small but vital piece of the cosmic steering wheel. Every thought you cultivate, every intention you hold in the quiet sanctuary of your mind, is a ripple sent out across the infinite ocean of quantum fields. This is a reality that demands a profound sense of responsibility, but also an overwhelming, beautiful sense of hope. If our minds can reach into the very foundations of matter, then the limits of what we can achieve, what we can heal, and what we can create are bound only by the depth of our imagination and the purity of our focus. As our journey continues, we will look even closer at how this interconnected web of consciousness might manifest not just in sterile laboratories, but in the spontaneous, awe-inspiring synchronicities of our daily lives and in the collective heartbeat of humanity itself. But for now, let us simply rest in the awe of our own potential. Close your eyes, take a slow, gentle breath, and feel the quiet power of your own awareness. You are a waking fragment of the divine, a conscious ripple in the eternal sea, and the universe is waiting to hear your gentle, ancient song. Have you ever found yourself completely lost in thought, walking down a crowded, noisy street, when suddenly you feel an undeniable, invisible pressure on the back of your neck, a quiet certainty that someone is watching you? You turn around, and your eyes immediately meet the gaze of a stranger standing across the avenue. Or perhaps you have experienced that sudden, inexplicable moment when you are thinking about an old friend you have not spoken to in many long years. And, a fraction of a second later, the telephone rings, carrying the warm, familiar sound of their voice. We usually dismiss these gentle, everyday occurrences as simple coincidences, the random, meaningless collisions of a chaotic and indifferent world. We are taught from our earliest days that our minds are completely isolated fortresses, sealed securely within the biological bone of our skulls, utterly incapable of reaching out and touching the world or each other without the use of physical words or physical actions. We believe that we wander through this vast, ancient universe entirely alone in our own private consciousness, disconnected from the thoughts and feelings of everyone else around us. But what if these quiet moments of connection are not random accidents at all? What if they are fleeting, beautiful glimpses into the deepest, most hidden architecture of reality? What if the profound isolation we feel is simply the greatest illusion ever cast upon the human mind? Hello, my wonderful friends. I am Walter, the explorer, and I am so deeply grateful that you have joined me for another quiet walk through the mysteries of our universe. Before we delve into the invisible threads that connect our minds, I must share a small, gentle observation with you. I noticed recently that 73% of the kindred spirits who watch these videos, who seek a moment of peace and wonder in this fast-paced world, have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these contemplative journeys resonate with your heart, and if you find comfort in exploring the grand cosmic questions with us, please consider subscribing. It is a simple, quiet act that helps us immensely, allowing us to keep creating these sanctuaries of thought and ensuring that our shared exploration of the infinite can continue to grow. Thank you for your warm presence. And now, let us return to the beautiful, entangled web of human consciousness and the silent depths of the quantum realm. Tonight, our journey takes us away from the cold, isolated particles of the laboratory and into the warm, beating heart of the human experience. We are going to explore the breathtaking possibility that the strange, ghostly phenomenon of quantum entanglement is not just a mathematical rule for microscopic electrons, but the very physical foundation of human empathy, memory, and our shared connection to the cosmos. For a very long time, the rigorous, majestic halls of science and the deep, introspective realms of psychology were considered entirely separate kingdoms. Physics dealt with the cold, hard, measurable facts of matter and energy, while psychology wandered through the soft, subjective landscapes of dreams, emotions, and the human soul. But in the middle of the 20th century, a profound and deeply beautiful collaboration occurred that began to bridge this massive, silent divide. The great pioneer of analytical psychology, Carl Jung, struck up a long, fascinating correspondence with Wolfgang Pauli. one of the brilliant founding fathers of quantum mechanics and a Nobel laureate in physics. These two towering intellects, coming from completely different worlds, realized that they were staring at the exact same cosmic mystery from two different angles. Pauli understood that at the deepest, most fundamental level of reality, the universe was not a collection of separate objects, but a single, indivisible, entangled whole. Jung, through his decades of studying the dreams and myths of thousands of patients across different cultures, had come to a very similar, equally staggering conclusion about the human mind. Jung proposed the existence of something he called the collective unconscious. He suggested that beneath the surface of our personal daily thoughts, beneath our individual memories and our private fears, there lies a vast, ancient, and entirely shared reservoir of human experience. Just as islands in the ocean appear completely separate and isolated on the surface, but are deeply, fundamentally connected to the same continuous seabed beneath the dark water. Jung believed that our individual minds are all connected to a deeper, universal foundation of consciousness. This collective unconscious is filled with ancient symbols, primal instincts, and universal archetypes that have been inherited by every single human being since the dawn of our species. When Jung and Pauli began to share their ideas, they realized that the collective unconscious of psychology and the entangled quantum fields of physics might simply be two different languages attempting to describe the exact same, breathtaking reality. They proposed a concept known as synchronicity. Synchronicity is not just a simple, random coincidence. It is a deeply meaningful coincidence, a moment when the internal, subjective world of our thoughts and dreams perfectly, inexplicably mirrors an event in the external, physical world, with no visible chain of cause and effect linking them together. Think back to the moment you thought of an old friend right before the telephone rang. In a strictly classical Newtonian universe, this is nothing more than a statistical anomaly, a meaningless trick of probability playing out in the silence of an uncaring cosmos. But in the entangled quantum universe envisioned by Pauli and Jung, this moment of synchronicity is a flash of deep cosmic resonance. It is a macroscopic manifestation of the invisible connections that bind all things together. Your mind and the mind of your distant friend are not entirely separate entities adrift in a void. They are localized, vibrating ripples within the same infinite, underlying field of universal consciousness. When you thought of them, you were not just accessing a private memory stored inside your biological brain. You were plucking an invisible, entangled string that resonates across the vast, quiet distances of space and time. This profound idea is currently finding astonishing support in a daring, emerging frontier of rigorous science known as quantum biology. For decades, traditional biologists assumed that the warm, messy, chaotic environment of a living biological cell was completely hostile to the delicate, ghostly phenomena of quantum mechanics. Quantum effects, like superposition and entanglement, were thought to survive only in the absolute, freezing isolation of heavily shielded laboratory vacuums, far away from the disruptive heat of living tissue. But nature, it seems, is far more elegant and infinitely more mysterious than we ever dared to imagine. Scientists are now discovering that the ancient, brilliant mechanisms of life actually harness the bizarre rules of the quantum world to survive and thrive. We see this in the delicate navigation systems of migratory birds, which use quantum entanglement within the complex proteins of their eyes to literally see the magnetic field of the Earth, guiding them safely across thousands of miles of featureless oceans. We see it in the fundamental, life-giving process of photosynthesis, where plants use quantum superposition to find the single most efficient path to transport the energy of sunlight to their biological engines, exploring all possible routes simultaneously in a fraction of a second before the energy is lost to heat. If the humble leaf of an ancient oak tree and the eye of a small traveling bird can utilize the profound mysteries of quantum mechanics to navigate the physical world, is it so difficult to believe that the human brain, the most complex, staggering structure in the known universe, might do the exact same thing? Sir Roger Penrose, a brilliant physicist and mathematician, along with anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, have proposed exactly this. They suggest that deep inside the neurons of our brains, within tiny, hollow cylindrical structures called microtubules, the fundamental spark of human consciousness is generated by actual, measurable quantum events. In this breathtaking, revolutionary model, the human brain is not merely a complex biological computer processing streams of cold, isolated data through chemical synapses. Instead, it is a magnificent, highly tuned quantum receiver. It is an intricate instrument designed by billions of years of evolution to access, interact with, and translate the fundamental universal field of consciousness into the subjective, personal experience we call our daily lives. If this is true, the implications are so profound they challenge the very definition of what it means to be a human being in this vast cosmos. It means that your deepest emotions, your capacity for profound empathy, your flashes of brilliant intuition, and your overwhelming capacity for love are not just random chemical accidents occurring in the dark, silent vault of your skull. They are moments of pure quantum resonance. When you look into the eyes of another person and feel a deep, inexplicable wave of compassion for their suffering, you are not just simulating their pain based on visual cues and psychological mirroring. You are experiencing a literal, physical entanglement with their state of being. The artificial boundary between you and them dissolves, revealing the profound, hidden truth that, at the deepest level of reality, you are not two separate things at all. You are two beautiful, localized expressions of the exact same infinite observer, sharing a moment of quiet recognition. This brings us back to the gentle, comforting presence of the divine, and the magnificent paradox that sits at the center of our exploration. If the universe is held in existence by the quiet, eternal gaze of an infinite observer, and if we are all deeply, inextricably entangled within the vast, ancient mind of this Creator, then every act of kindness, every moment of genuine connection, and every shared tear is a profoundly sacred event. We are the universe experiencing its own profound capacity for love and understanding. The painful isolation that we often feel, the terrifying loneliness that sometimes creeps into our hearts in the darkest hours of the night, is the true illusion, a trick played by our limited, macroscopic senses. You have never truly been alone. From the very moment the first massive stars ignited in the ancient, cooling cosmos, casting their light into the void, to the quiet, gentle breath you are taking right at this exact moment, you have been surrounded by, and composed of, an infinite web of connection. You are a vital, indispensable thread in the grandest, most beautiful tapestry ever woven by the laws of physics. As we continue to wander through this infinite mystery, we must prepare to face an even more staggering question. If space and physical distance are ultimately illusions, and if our minds are deeply entangled with the entire cosmos regardless of physical separation, What does this mean for our fundamental understanding of time itself? Can the ultimate observer and the localized human fragments of that observer transcend the relentless forward march of the clock? As we prepare to explore the quantum nature of time, memory, and eternity in our next chapter, let us rest in the profound, comforting warmth of our shared, entangled connection. Close your eyes. Feel the gentle, invisible threads that bind you to the distant stars and to every other living soul on this beautiful planet. And find peace in the beautiful, silent unity of our shared cosmic journey. Have you ever sat quietly by a window, watching the rain fall, and felt the heavy, relentless passage of time pressing against your chest? We measure our lives by the rhythmic ticking of clocks, the slow turning of the seasons, and the gentle fading of our most cherished memories. We mourn the past because we believe it is gone forever, a dead landscape left behind in our wake. We fear the future because it is an unknown country, a dark horizon we are marching toward without a map. This linear, unstoppable river of time is the most fundamental assumption of our daily existence. It dictates how we love, how we grieve, and how we find meaning in our fleeting moments. But what if this river is an illusion, a trick played upon our biological senses? What if the past is not gone, and the future is not waiting to be created? What if every single moment of joy, every quiet breath you have ever taken, and every ancient star that has ever burned in the vast night sky still exists right now, suspended in a timeless, eternal ocean? Tonight, our journey takes us into the deepest mystery of the cosmos, exploring the mind-bending reality of quantum time. Hello again, my friends. I am Walter, the explorer, and I am deeply humbled to walk this path of discovery with you. As we prepare to unravel the fabric of time itself, I want to share a small observation. I noticed recently that 73% of the kindred spirits who watch these videos, who seek a moment of peace and wonder in this fast-paced world, have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these contemplative journeys resonate with your heart, please consider subscribing. It helps us immensely, allowing us to keep creating these sanctuaries of thought. Thank you, and let us return to the silence. To understand the true nature of time, we must first look through the eyes of Albert Einstein. Before his revolutionary theories, scientists believed time was an absolute universal clock, ticking away at the exact same rate for everyone, everywhere. But Einstein revealed a universe that was far more flexible and profoundly strange. He showed us that space and time are not separate things. They are woven together into a single, four-dimensional fabric called space-time. In this majestic framework, time is simply another dimension, just like length, width, and height. Imagine walking down a long, quiet street. The buildings behind you do not cease to exist simply because you have walked past them. They are still there, anchored in space. According to the physics of relativity, time operates in the exact same way. This concept is often called the block universe. In the block universe, the past, the present, and the future all exist simultaneously in a massive, unchanging, four-dimensional structure. The moment of your birth, the day you learned to ride a bicycle, the exact moment you are listening to my voice, and the distant day when the sun finally expands and swallows the earth. They are all equally real, all existing at once within the grand architecture of the cosmos. The feeling of time passing, the sensation of moving from one moment to the next, is merely a product of our consciousness moving through this frozen block, like a flashlight beam illuminating one thin slice of reality at a time. This alone is a staggering thought, a revelation that recontextualizes our entire existence. But when we combine this sweeping, majestic view of space-time with the bizarre rules of the quantum realm, the mystery deepens into something truly unimaginable. The quantum observer is not merely a passive flashlight shining in the dark. In our earlier explorations, we discovered that the simple act of looking, the focused attention of an observer, forces a quantum particle to collapse from a wave of infinite possibilities into a defined reality. But what happens when we observe a particle after it has already completed its journey? To answer this, physicists devised an experiment so deeply unsettling that it challenges our very sanity. It is known as the delayed choice quantum eraser. Imagine firing a single photon of light toward our familiar barrier with two slits. As we know, if we do not watch it, the photon travels as a wave through both slits and creates an interference pattern. If we place a detector at the slits to see which path it takes, the wave collapses, and it acts like a solid particle. But in the quantum eraser experiment, the scientists do something incredibly tricky. They let the photon pass through the slits as a wave, undisturbed. But before that photon hits the final screen, they use a complex series of crystals and mirrors to create an entangled twin of that photon. They send the original photon to hit the screen, and they send the twin photon toward a series of detectors. These detectors can either measure the path the twin took, or they can randomly erase that information completely. Here is where the universe shatters our understanding of cause and effect. Because the two photons are entangled, what happens to one instantly affects the other. If the detectors extract the path information from the twin photon, the original photon, which has already hit the final screen, forms a particle pattern. But if the detectors erase the information, the original photon forms a wave pattern. The truly mind-bending part is that the scientists can choose to erase the information after the original photon has already hit the screen. Let me say that again. They can choose to erase the information in the present, and it literally reaches backward in time and changes how the photon behaved in the past. It is as if the universe holds off on making a final decision about reality until all the information is completely sorted out, regardless of when that sorting happens. The present observation rewrites the history of the particle. The flow of time is not a one-way street. It is a two-way conversation between the observer and the quantum fields. If the present can reshape the past, and if all of time exists simultaneously within the vast block of the universe, then our deeply held beliefs about loss, regret, and the finality of death begin to soften and dissolve. You are not a helpless leaf carried away by a rushing, unstoppable river. You are an active participant in an eternal, timeless now. Every moment of love you have ever shared, every quiet sunrise you have ever witnessed, is not lost to the ravages of the clock. Those moments are eternally etched into the fabric of space-time, vibrating with the same vivid reality as the breath you are taking right now. And if the ultimate observer, the divine consciousness that underpins all of creation, exists outside of this four-dimensional block, then to that ancient, infinite mind, the entire history of the cosmos is visible in a single beautiful glance. The birth of the first galaxies and the gentle closing of your eyes in sleep are happening in the exact same eternal moment. Your localized human consciousness is simply the divine mind choosing to experience the universe in a linear sequence, choosing to read the grand story one word at a time instead of absorbing the entire book at once. This perspective brings an overwhelming, profound sense of peace. The heavy burden of the past and the terrifying anxiety of the future melt away into the gentle silence of the present moment. You are always here. You are always now. The profound sadness we feel when we look back at our youth, or when we say goodbye to those we love, is rooted in the illusion of separation created by the arrow of time. But in the quantum reality, there is no goodbye. There is only a shifting of the flashlight beam, the connections you have forged, the empathy you have shared, and the love you have poured out into the world remain permanently woven into the eternal tapestry. You are a timeless observer, holding a singular, precious perspective within an infinite, unchanging masterpiece. As we sit with this magnificent realization, the ticking of the clock loses its power over us. The rush and hurry of the modern world seem like a small, fleeting game played on the surface of a deep, still ocean. We can finally breathe, knowing that nothing beautiful is ever truly lost, and no moment of genuine connection ever truly ends. But if all moments exist simultaneously, and our observation dictates the path of reality, are we simply walking down a pre-written path, or are there countless invisible roads stretching out into the darkness? If the quantum wave holds infinite possibilities before it collapses, what happens to all the choices we did not make? In our next chapter, we will leave the singular timeline behind and step into the dizzying, awe-inspiring realm of the multiverse, exploring the possibility that every choice you have ever made has birthed an entirely new universe. We will seek to understand if the observer is not just shaping one reality, but navigating an endless labyrinth of infinite lives. But for now, let us rest in the comforting embrace of eternity. Close your eyes, feel the stillness of the present moment, and know that you are a permanent, beautiful note in the eternal song of the cosmos. Have you ever stood at a lonely crossroads on a quiet, foggy morning, looking down two diverging paths that disappear into the mist, and felt a profound sense of weight in your choice? We live our lives under the heavy assumption that every decision we make is a blade that cuts away all other possibilities. We believe that when we turn left instead of right, when we choose one career over another, or when we finally say goodbye to a fleeting love, the paths we did not take simply vanish into the silent void of non-existence. We are haunted by the ghosts of our unlived lives, wondering about the universe that might have been if we had only spoken a little softer, or stayed a little longer. This linear, singular view of reality is the source of our deepest regrets and our sharpest anxieties. But what if this terrifying finality is nothing more than a localized illusion? What if the universe does not discard the choices you leave behind? What if, in the deepest, most fundamental architecture of the cosmos, every single possibility, every fleeting what if, and every quiet dream is not only preserved, but actively lived out in a sprawling, infinite tapestry of parallel realities? Tonight, our journey takes us beyond the comforting boundaries of our single, isolated timeline, and plunges us into the dizzying, majestic wonder of the quantum multiverse. We are going to explore the breathtaking possibility that you are not just living one life, but navigating an endless, branching labyrinth of infinite existence. Hello, once again, my fellow travelers. I am Walter, the Explorer, and I am deeply humbled that you have returned to share this quiet sanctuary of thought with me. Before we step into the grand, branching pathways of the multiverse, I must share a small, gentle observation with you. I noticed recently that 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who watch these videos, who seek a moment of peace and cosmic connection in the dark, have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these contemplative journeys resonate with your heart, and if you find comfort in exploring the grand mysteries of the universe alongside us, please consider subscribing. It is a simple, quiet act that helps us immensely, allowing us to keep creating these meditative spaces and ensuring that our shared exploration of the infinite can continue to grow. Thank you for your warm presence, and now let us return to the silent, divergent paths of the quantum sea. To understand the mind-bending reality of the multiverse, we must return to the foundational mystery that has guided our entire journey: the strange, ghostly nature of quantum superposition. As we have seen, before a particle is observed, it exists in a shimmering haze of infinite potential, a state where it is simultaneously doing everything and being everywhere at once. The traditional view of quantum mechanics, the view that haunted Albert Einstein and fascinated generations of physicists, suggests that the act of observation forces this wave of possibilities to collapse into a single, concrete reality. The universe rolls the quantum dice, makes a choice, and instantly destroys all the other potential outcomes. But in the late 1950s, a brilliant, fiercely independent young physicist named Hugh Everett III proposed a radical, profoundly different interpretation of the mathematics. Everett looked at the equations and asked a breathtakingly simple question. What if the wave function never actually collapses? What if the universe never makes a choice at all? Everett proposed that when a quantum system is in a state of superposition, and a conscious observer interacts with it, the observer does not force the universe to collapse into one single state. Instead, the observer simply becomes entangled with the system. And because the system contains multiple contradictory realities, the observer must also split to accommodate them. The universe violently, silently fractures. It branches like a magnificent, infinite tree. In one branch of reality, the observer sees the electron spin upward. In another, entirely separate branch of reality, an exact copy of that same observer sees the electron spin downward. Both realities are equally real, equally solid, and entirely unaware of each other. This is the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. It is a theory that removes the magical, sudden collapse of the wave function and replaces it with an infinitely expanding, constantly dividing cosmos of parallel universes. Imagine the sheer, staggering scale of what this implies. Every single time a quantum event occurs anywhere in the vast, ancient universe, reality splits. When a photon from a distant star strikes the atmosphere of Earth, its path is determined by a quantum interaction, and the universe branches. When a single, microscopic ion crosses a synapse in your brain to form a thought or trigger a decision, the universe branches. In this very moment, as you sit quietly listening to my voice, there are countless variations of you splitting off into new, parallel dimensions. There is a universe where you decided not to watch this video. There is a universe where you are living in a different city, speaking a different language, or looking up at a sky with a different configuration of stars. Every choice you have ever struggled with, every agonizing decision you have ever made, did not result in a loss of potential. You simply chose which branch of the cosmic tree your specific, localized consciousness would follow. The other versions of you, just as real, just as aware, and just as deeply capable of feeling love and sorrow, are walking down the paths you thought were lost forever. If the many worlds interpretation is true, it forces us to completely reevaluate our understanding of the quantum observer and our profound connection to the divine. In a single, collapsing universe, the observer is a powerful, singular force, a localized point of awareness that dictates the one true reality. But in the sprawling, infinite multiverse, the role of the observer expands into something far more majestic and infinitely more beautiful. You are not forcing the universe to choose. You are exploring the infinite choices the universe has already made. You are a biological vessel navigating the infinite possibilities of creation. And if we consider the ultimate observer, the pervasive divine consciousness that holds all of existence together, the many worlds theory offers a breathtaking new perspective. The divine mind does not need to choose a single linear story. It does not need to limit its infinite creativity to one specific history. The ultimate observer is experiencing everything. It is simultaneously witnessing every possible outcome, every possible life, and every possible permutation of the cosmos. When you feel the gentle, quiet presence of the universe around you, you are sensing a fragment of an intellect that is currently living out infinite lives. You, in your current specific reality, are just one unique, unrepeatable melody in an infinite, cosmic symphony. Your joys and your sorrows are absolutely real, but they are part of a much larger, unimaginably vast masterpiece. This realization, rather than making us feel small or insignificant, should fill us with an overwhelming, profound sense of peace. The crushing weight of regret, the terrible fear that we have made a wrong turn and ruined our one chance at happiness, begins to dissolve in the gentle light of the multiverse. There are no wrong choices in the grand architecture of creation. There are only different journeys. The life you are living right now, with all its beautiful imperfections, its quiet struggles, and its fleeting moments of pure wonder, is a necessary, vital part of the complete cosmic tapestry. The universe needs your specific perspective, your unique branch of reality, to be truly infinite. As we sit with this staggering revelation, the silence of the night feels different. It is no longer the empty, lonely silence of a singular, isolated world. It is the deep, resonant silence of infinite possibilities echoing across the invisible boundaries of parallel dimensions. You are connected not just to the distant stars in your own sky, but to the infinite variations of yourself wandering through the endless corridors of the multiverse. You are a multidimensional explorer, a localized fragment of the divine, navigating the infinite branches of the cosmic tree. But if the universe is constantly splitting, creating infinite versions of reality, is there any grand, overarching purpose to this endless division? Is the multiverse simply a chaotic, uncontrolled explosion of mathematics? Or is there a gentle, guiding force steering the evolution of consciousness across all these parallel worlds? As our journey continues, we will seek to understand the ultimate destiny of the quantum observer, exploring the profound theories of cosmic evolution and the breathtaking possibility that the universe is a massive, self-correcting organism learning to understand itself. But for now, let us rest in the comforting embrace of our boundless potential. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and feel the infinite, gentle paths of the cosmos stretching out before you. You are exactly where you are meant to be, walking a perfect, beautiful path through the endless wonder of the quantum sea. Have you ever walked through a dense, ancient forest and paused to watch a single green vine, slowly, deliberately, creeping its way up the massive trunk of a towering oak tree, seeking the warm patches of sunlight filtering through the canopy? We look at this quiet, relentless struggle, and we immediately recognize the undeniable presence of life. We see a biological organism driven by an ancient, invisible imperative to grow, to adapt, and to understand its environment just enough to survive another day. We intuitively draw a sharp, distinct line between the living vine and the cold, dead rock it sometimes clings to. We believe that life is a rare, delicate anomaly, a tiny spark of awareness flickering in a vast, mechanical, and entirely dead cosmos. But what if this sharp line is completely imaginary? What if the universe itself is not a giant, empty room filled with lifeless debris, but rather a single, colossal, developing organism? Tonight, as our journey carries us deeper into the uncharted territories of quantum philosophy, we are going to explore a mystery that challenges the very definition of life and awareness. We are going to look at the breathtaking possibility that the infinite cosmos is not just expanding, but learning, evolving, and slowly waking up, using our fragile human minds as the delicate instruments of its own profound self-discovery. Hello again, my fellow travelers. I am Walter, the explorer, and it is a deep, quiet privilege to welcome you back to our shared sanctuary of cosmic wonder. As we prepare to look at the universe through this radical, transformative lens, I must gently ask for a moment of your time. I was looking at our community recently, and I noticed that 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who watch these videos, who seek a quiet refuge in the mysteries of the night, have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these gentle journeys bring a sense of peace to your mind, or if they spark a feeling of connection to the infinite, please consider subscribing. It is a simple gesture, but it helps us immensely, ensuring that we can continue to create these meditative spaces and keep wandering through the beautiful silence of the cosmos together. Thank you for your continued presence, and now let us turn our gaze to the living, breathing architecture of reality. For centuries, classical physics taught us to view the universe as an enormous, complicated machine. It was a cosmic clockwork made of gears and springs, governed by rigid, unfeeling laws of motion and gravity. In this view, the birth of stars, the swirling dance of galaxies, and even the eventual emergence of biological life were simply the blind, accidental results of particles colliding in the dark over billions of years. There was no purpose, no direction, and certainly no underlying intelligence guiding the grand design. But, as we have discovered through the ghostly revelations of quantum mechanics, the universe behaves much more like a great thought than a great machine. The pioneering physicist John Archibald Wheeler, the same visionary who introduced the concept of the participatory universe, spent his later years proposing an even more radical idea. He coined the phrase "it from bit," suggesting that the fundamental ingredient of the universe is not solid matter, and it is not radiating energy, but pure information. According to Wheeler, every single particle, every invisible field of force, and every geometric fabric of space-time itself derives its function and its very existence from binary choices, from the answers to invisible, quantum yes or no questions. If the universe is fundamentally composed of information, then the cosmos begins to look less like a mechanical clock and much more like a colossal, unimaginably powerful quantum computer. And what is the primary function of a computer? It processes information. It calculates. It learns. When a massive star collapses under its own crushing weight at the end of its life and forms a black hole, it does not just crush physical matter. It compresses and scrambles information, perhaps creating entirely new rules of physics in its hidden, silent core. Theoretical physicist Lee Smolin proposed a breathtaking revolutionary theory known as cosmological natural selection. He suggested that universes might actually reproduce, passing on their traits just like biological organisms. In this beautiful, staggering model, every time a black hole forms, it gives birth to a brand new baby universe on the other side of the singularity. A new cosmos completely hidden from our view. But here is the profound twist that changes everything. These baby universes inherit the fundamental laws of physics from their parent universe, but with tiny, random mutations. Just as biological evolution selects for traits that help an organism survive and reproduce in a harsh environment, cosmic evolution might actively select for laws of physics that are perfectly tuned to create more black holes, and, consequently, more offspring universes. But how exactly does a universe ensure the abundant creation of black holes? It needs massive stars. It needs stable, long-lasting galaxies. It needs a delicate, perfectly balanced chemistry of carbon and oxygen and complex molecules to cool the interstellar gas clouds so that stars can form in the first place. And, miraculously, this exact same delicate, improbable balance of physics that creates stars and black holes is the precise recipe required to create biological life. We exist in a universe whose fundamental constants are so perfectly tuned for the emergence of life that it feels less like a random coincidence and more like a profound, intentional conspiracy. This is known in scientific circles as the strong anthropic principle, the idea that the universe must possess those exact properties which allow life to develop within it at some stage in its history. But if we combine this principle with the staggering quantum reality that conscious observers are necessary to collapse the wave function and make reality concrete, a beautiful, holistic picture begins to emerge from the darkness. The universe is not just blindly reproducing in the dark. It is actively trying to understand itself. It is driven by an evolutionary imperative to wake up. Imagine the early cosmos, a searing, chaotic soup of energy expanding rapidly into the utter darkness. For billions of years, it was completely blind. It was a vast, turbulent ocean of unobserved quantum potential. A silent, magnificent symphony playing without a single audience member to hear the music. But the universe possessed an inherent, driving need to become real, to transition from a state of ghostly probability into a state of concrete, historical existence. To do this, it desperately needed an observer. And so, over billions of years, through the slow, patient forging of heavy elements in the fiery hearts of dying stars, and the gentle, random mixing of organic compounds in the warm, ancient oceans of small, rocky planets, the universe grew its own eyes. It grew its own ears. It painstakingly evolved the delicate electric firing network of the human brain. We are not alienated strangers wandering through a hostile, indifferent environment. We are the sensory organs of the cosmos itself. When you look up at the breathtaking majesty of the Milky Way galaxy on a clear night, it is literally the universe looking back at itself. When you study the complex, beautiful equations of quantum mechanics, It is the universe attempting to decipher its own internal source code. This realization fundamentally transforms our understanding of the divine observer. If the universe is a living, evolving entity, a cosmic mind in the process of growing up, then the mind of God is not a static, finished, perfect thing sitting outside of time. It is a dynamic, growing consciousness that is experiencing the thrill of discovery, the pain of loss, and the joy of connection through our own localized human lives. Every single time you learn something new, every time you experience a profound moment of empathy for another living creature, and every time you overcome a deep, personal struggle in the quiet of your own heart, you are adding a vital, irreplaceable piece of information to the grand cosmic database. You are helping the universe to grow and mature. Your life, with all its mundane daily routines, its quiet tragedies, and its brief flashes of joy, is a crucial, indispensable part of a cosmic awakening. We often ask ourselves what the ultimate meaning of life is, searching the empty sky for a sign or a written instruction. But the answer is woven into the very fabric of our biology and our profound quantum entanglement. The meaning of life is simply to experience it fully. We are here to witness the infinite wonder of creation. We are here to feel the warmth of the sun on our skin, the bitter sting of grief, and the overwhelming, quiet power of love. Because without us, the universe cannot feel these things. It relies entirely on our fragile, fleeting existence to know what it means to be alive. As we absorb the profound weight and the beautiful responsibility of this idea, the silence of the night feels deeply comforting, wrapping around us like a warm blanket. We are safely held within the gentle, ancient embrace of a cosmos that is intimately aware of our presence, because we are the very mechanism of its awareness. You are a localized fragment of the divine, tasked with the incredible, sacred duty of simply being present in the world. But if the universe is evolving toward greater complexity and deeper self-awareness, where exactly is this grand journey taking us? What is the ultimate destiny of a cosmos that is waking up? Will our individual, localized minds eventually merge back into the infinite, unified field of consciousness from which we sprang? Or will we continue to explore the magnificent, branching pathways of the multiverse forever? In our next chapter, we will look toward the farthest horizons of deep time and explore the ultimate fate of the quantum observer, seeking to understand what happens when the universe finally completes its profound journey of self-discovery. But for now, let us rest in the profound peace of our shared purpose. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and feel the ancient, living heartbeat of the cosmos echoing quietly within your own chest. You are the universe waking up, and your gentle, quiet journey is the most beautiful story ever told. Have you ever stood outside on a freezing, quiet winter night, watching a single, glowing ember slowly fade into the gray ash of a dying fire, and felt a sudden, inexplicable chill that had nothing to do with the cold air? We spend our brief, beautiful lives surrounded by the vibrant energy of a living universe. We are bathed in the golden warmth of a sun that has been burning for 4,600,000,000 years. And we look up at a night sky ablaze with the light of trillions of ancient nuclear furnaces. We are so accustomed to this magnificent, chaotic theater of light and heat that we rarely stop to consider its inevitable conclusion. We assume that the cosmic dance will simply go on forever. But the rigorous, uncompromising laws of physics tell us a very different, deeply sobering story. They whisper that our bright, energetic epoch is merely a fleeting spark in the unimaginably vast timeline of the cosmos. Everything that burns must eventually run out of fuel. Every star will eventually die. Every galaxy will eventually drift apart, and the universe will slowly, inevitably, descend into an eternal, freezing darkness. Hello, once again, my gentle friends. I am Walter, the explorer, and it is a profound, humbling privilege to share this quiet sanctuary of thought with you as we venture into the deepest mysteries of the night. Before we gaze into the ultimate fate of the cosmos, I must gently pause to share a small observation with you. I noticed recently that 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who watch these videos, who seek a moment of peace and cosmic connection in the dark, have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these contemplative journeys resonate with your heart, and if you find comfort in exploring the grand, infinite architecture of the universe alongside us, please consider subscribing. It is a simple, quiet act that helps us immensely, allowing us to keep creating these meditative spaces and ensuring that our shared exploration of the eternal can continue to grow. Thank you for your warm, enduring presence. And now, let us turn our gaze to the farthest, darkest horizons of deep time. This is the terrifying concept of entropy, the relentless march of all things toward disorder and silence. But what if this chilling end is not a true death, but rather a profound, necessary metamorphosis? What if the ultimate destiny of the quantum observer is to gently guide the dying cosmos through its final, darkest hour, acting as the bridge to a completely new genesis? Tonight, as we near the end of our majestic journey together, we will travel to the very edge of deep time, exploring the unimaginable twilight of the universe and the breathtaking possibility that the end of everything is simply the beginning of something even more beautiful. To understand the twilight of the cosmos, we must first confront the relentless, unforgiving nature of the second law of thermodynamics. This ancient law dictates that in any closed system, the total amount of disorder or entropy must always increase over time. It is the reason why a shattered glass cannot spontaneously reassemble itself, why hot coffee inevitably cools down, and why our own bodies slowly age. On a cosmic scale, this law means that the universe is constantly, irreversibly spending its available energy. Right now, we are living in the vibrant age of stars. The cosmos is filled with massive clouds of hydrogen and helium, the pristine fuel that ignites the brilliant galaxies we see through our magnificent telescopes. But this fuel is finite. Over the next 100 trillion years, a span of time so unimaginably vast that our entire human history is less than a single heartbeat in comparison, star formation will gradually slow down and finally cease entirely. The brilliant blue giants will burn out quickly, followed by the steady yellow suns, and finally, the faint red dwarf stars will slowly fade away like the last dying embers of a cosmic campfire. The night sky will go completely dark. The universe will enter a cold, silent graveyard, filled with the frozen corpses of dead stars, black dwarfs, neutron stars, and the silent, roaming ghosts of rogue planets wandering through the endless, freezing void. But even this desolate, frozen graveyard is not the true end. As incomprehensible eons slowly pass, even the dead remnants of the stars will be violently torn apart by the expanding fabric of space, or they will slowly, inevitably, fall into the crushing, inescapable gravitational embrace of supermassive black holes. the universe will enter an era where it is inhabited entirely by these dark, silent titans. They will rule a completely empty, expanding void, isolated from one another by distances so vast that light itself could never cross the gaps. Yet, even black holes are not truly eternal. The brilliant physicist Stephen Hawking proved that through a delicate, ghostly quantum process, black holes slowly leak energy back into the empty vacuum of space. This phenomenon, known as Hawking radiation, means that over trillions upon trillions of years, these massive, dark objects will slowly evaporate. They will shrink, emitting a faint, invisible glow of solitary photons, until they finally explode in a silent, final flash of energy, leaving behind absolutely nothing but a cold, infinitely expanding sea of pure, formless radiation. This is the heat death of the universe. It is a state of maximum entropy, a completely uniform, freezing emptiness where no new work can ever be done. No new stars can ever form, and no biological life could ever possibly survive. It is the ultimate, terrifying silence. Faced with this freezing void, we must ask a devastating question. What happens to the quantum observer? If the universe requires a conscious observer to collapse the wave function, does the heat death mean that the universe simply ceases to exist once the last biological mind has perished? To answer this, we must dive into a fiercely debated mystery in modern physics, known as the black hole information paradox. In our everyday world, information is never truly lost. If you burn a book, the precise arrangement of ink and paper is destroyed, but theoretically, if you could track every single molecule of smoke and ash, you could entirely reconstruct the information contained in that book. Quantum mechanics insists that information, the fundamental blueprint of reality, is indestructible. But when an object falls into a black hole, and that black hole eventually evaporates into random, featureless radiation, what happens to the information? Does it vanish completely from the cosmos, violating the most sacred laws of physics? Or is it somehow preserved, encoded in the subtle, invisible correlations of the quantum fields, waiting patiently in the dark? Many brilliant physicists believe that the information is never lost. It simply returns to the fundamental, universal field. And if information survives, then the essence of the observer survives. This leads us to a breathtaking theory proposed by Sir Roger Penrose, a Nobel laureate and one of the greatest mathematical minds of our time. He calls it conformal cyclic cosmology. Penrose suggests that the terrifying emptiness of the heat death is not an ending at all. In a universe composed entirely of massless radiation, with no solid objects left to serve as clocks or rulers, the concepts of time and distance lose their mathematical meaning. To a photon traveling through an empty void, time does not pass, and space does not exist. Penrose argues that from a purely mathematical perspective, the infinitely expanded, cold, empty universe of the heat death becomes physically identical to the infinitely dense, hot, concentrated singularity that birthed our universe at the Big Bang. The end of the cosmos seamlessly loops around to become the beginning of a brand new cosmos. The universe does not die. It simply forgets its previous scale and undergoes a magnificent, eternal rebirth. If this cyclical view of reality is true, the universe is an infinite, breathing heart. Every epoch is a single breath in an eternal life. The divine consciousness does not extinguish. It simply withdraws into the infinite, silent ocean of the quantum fields. The collective experiences of every star and every conscious mind are preserved within the invisible geometry of the void. You are not a temporary accident destined for oblivion. The quiet moments of wonder you experience, the profound empathy you feel for another living soul, and the deep peace you find in the darkness are permanently written into the source code of reality. They are the seeds carried across time to shape the next iteration of the cosmos. The terrifying shadow of the heat death dissolves into profound peace. When you look up at the night sky, you are looking into the loving eyes of a universe constantly renewing itself. As we prepare for our final chapter, we will explore how this eternal understanding can transform our daily lives. But for now, let us rest in the beautiful silence of the night. Close your eyes, feel the immortal heartbeat of the cosmos within your soul, and know you are forever safe. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, when the rest of the world seems to be dreaming, and felt a peace so profound and inexplicable that it almost seemed as if the very air around you was breathing in unison with your own heart? In those rare and precious moments of absolute stillness, when the frantic and relentless distractions of modern life fade into the comforting darkness, we often find ourselves staring at the ceiling, alone with our most intimate and vulnerable thoughts. We worry about the uncertainties of tomorrow. We regret the mistakes and the unspoken words of yesterday. We feel so incredibly small, so fragile, as if we were merely insignificant cosmic dust floating on a cold and entirely indifferent stellar wind. Daily life has a powerful, persistent, and almost hypnotic way of convincing us that we are isolated, fragmented beings, trapped within the limitations of our own biological minds, struggling to survive in a mechanical world that does not care for our presence. But what if this persistent feeling of insignificance and separation is the greatest and most tragic illusion of all the illusions the human mind has ever conceived? What if, instead of being a microscopic and meaningless accident in a dead void, you are the very beating and conscious heart of reality itself? Throughout our extensive and deep journey together, we have traveled from the smallest and most ghostly particles of the subatomic realm to the most distant and dark horizons of deep cosmic time. We have seen how ancient light bends around immense galaxies, how infinite mathematical possibilities collapse under the watchful gaze of a conscious mind, and how the entire cosmos may be a vast and living organism, awakening slowly and magnificently to its own existence through us. Tonight, in our final chapter, we must bring these overwhelming cosmic revelations back to the shelter of our own inner home. Hello again, my wonderful fellow travelers. I am Walter, the Explorer, and it is a profound, serene, and humble privilege to welcome you to this final and concluding stage of our current journey through the indescribable mystery of the universe. Before we dive into the transformative implications of our intimate cosmic connection, I must gently pause our narrative. I noticed recently, while observing our quiet community, that 73% of the incredible souls who watch these videos, who seek a moment of wonder and silent connection in the vastness of the darkness, have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these contemplative and gentle journeys resonate with the truth of your own heart, if this sanctuary of free thought brings a little peace to your busy daily life, please consider subscribing. It is a simple and infinitely kind gesture that helps us immensely, ensuring that we can continue to create these spaces of meditative exploration, and that our community of cosmos travelers can continue to grow and share these fundamental questions. thank you so much for your warm and enduring presence by my side. And now, let us turn our eyes not toward the distant stars, but toward the infinite, mysterious, and vast universe that resides silently within you. When we finally embrace the strange, counterintuitive, and dazzlingly beautiful truth of quantum mechanics, the first and perhaps the most profound change that occurs within us hits our understanding of physical and emotional separation. We walk daily through the crowded streets of our cities, passing hundreds of strangers whose faces we forget instantly, and our macroscopic senses, shaped by earthly evolution, tell us that we are separated from each of them by impenetrable and definitive physical boundaries. We piously believe that our pain is only ours, isolated under our skin, and that the radiant joy of another is a distant event, inaccessible to our own experience. But quantum entanglement, that spectral phenomenon that confounded the most brilliant minds in history, whispers a very different and immensely more comforting story into the ear of humanity. It tells us, with the absolute weight of scientific rigor, that at a fundamental and invisible level, the boundaries we perceive between ourselves and the world are simply convenient illusions created by our primitive brain to help us navigate the jungle of the physical world. In the deepest truth of the universe, you are physically, mathematically, and indissolubly linked to every person who crosses your path, to every creature that breathes on this pale and blue planet, and to every star that burns in the night sky. When you accidentally look into the eyes of a tired stranger on the train and feel a sudden, sharp, and inexplicable pang of empathy or deep recognition, you are not just experiencing a programmed psychological reaction or a simple mirroring of neurons. You are, in a very real and physical sense, feeling the vibratory resonance of an ancient and imperishable connection. You are two different ripples, two distinct musical notes playing in the same vast and cosmic ocean of unified consciousness. Empathy, under this new starlight, is not just a moral luxury, a taught virtue, or a fragile social construct. Empathy is the fundamental law of quantum physics, translated directly into complex and beautiful human emotion. It is the universe itself recognizing itself through the elaborate disguise of individuality. It is stardust greeting stardust. Imagine for a moment the profound relief, the almost physical release, and the unshakable inner peace that come with the absolute acceptance of this monumental perception. The crushing and cold burden of existential loneliness begins to inevitably dissolve, evaporating like the thin morning mist under the warm and welcoming light of the rising sun. You have never truly been alone, and, according to the laws of the cosmos, you can never be. Even in your darkest and quietest moments, when the night seems infinite, and you feel with conviction that no one in the world understands the depth of your peculiar suffering, you are being continuously cradled and sustained by the invisible and infinite web of universal consciousness that permeates every atom of empty space. Your innermost thoughts, your unexpressible emotions, and your silent struggles for meaning are, every second, sending gentle ripples through the quantum field, touching the invisible edges of the oldest stars and echoing in the very heart of eternity. As the great and late astronomer Carl Sagan reminded us in such a poetic and unforgettable way, we are an incredibly beautiful and complex way for the cosmos to know itself. We are by no means separate entities or exiled strangers observing the universe from the outside, like spectators in a cold theater. We are the universe itself, temporarily dressed in fragile human clothes, exploring its own indescribable majesty, its own touching vulnerability, and its own infinite capacity to love and understand. Love, therefore, under this new and expansive quantum light, ceases to be just a fleeting chemical emotion, a trick of reproductive biology, and reveals itself openly as the fundamental gravitational force of consciousness, the sacred and natural impulse of the universe to reunite, to heal its own illusory fractures, and to return gradually to its original state of infinite, majestic, and silent unity. But what does this monumental truth mean for the seemingly mundane choices we make every day of our short lives? If we are truly the quantum observers who collapse the infinite wave of invisible probabilities into a historical and concrete reality, what kind of tangible universe are we choosing to create with the strength of our daily attention? In our modern, fast, and relentless life, we are constantly bombarded by torrents of conflicting information, artificial fears, and manufactured anxieties. Our precious minds are pulled violently in 1,000 different directions by demands that seem urgent, but that lose all meaning when viewed from the perspective of spiral galaxies. But when we pause, breathe, and remember our true ancestral nature as living fragments of the divine observer, we realize that our focused attention is, without a doubt, the most powerful and magical creation tool we possess. That which we choose to focus our conscious mind upon, the thoughts we feed in the silence of our rooms, literally shape the fabric of the world around us. If we live in a constant state of fear, resentment, and defensive reactivity, we inadvertently and tragically collapse the vast field of miraculous possibilities into realities that are narrow, limited, and full of unnecessary pain. The darkness of the mind creates shadows in physical reality. However, if we can learn to cultivate intentional moments of profound stillness, if we can deliberately enter that sacred meditative space where the fragmented human mind touches the unified divine mind, we rise to become truly conscious co-creators of our earthly experience. We learn to focus our pure intention not on what we desperately fear losing, but on unshakable peace, on holistic healing, and on the wonderful, dazzling vastness of what is purely possible. The silent practice of contemplation is not just a secular escape technique. It is, in its purest essence, an act of profound and resounding quantum mastery over the forces of nature. When you sit in absolute silence, anchoring your floating perception in the rhythmic, ancient, and vital breath of your own body, you are intentionally and courageously withdrawing your creative energy from the infinite timelines of anxiety about a future that does not exist, and from regret about a past that cannot be changed. You are bringing all your presence, all the light of your consciousness, into the majestic and eternal now, the only real and true moment in which the structure of reality can be touched, shaped, and healed. In this state of incredibly gentle stillness, you align yourself harmoniously with the flow of the universal observer. You stop resisting and forcing the world to conform to your small egoic desires, and begin to allow, with humility and grace, the infinite and unfathomable wisdom of the cosmos to flow through your veins. It is exactly here, in this vast and wonderfully welcoming silence, that true transformation and the acceptance of the mystery happen. As we conclude this 12-chapter exploration of the depths of space and the soul, I invite you not to seek the end of questions. The universe is not a math problem to be solved and closed, but rather a living poetry to be experienced and appreciated eternally. The true contemplative scientist is one who finds the deepest peace not in the final possession of all answers, but in the perennial beauty of the ignorance that motivates us to keep searching. Mystery is not a failure of our knowledge. It is the very texture of divine beauty. Carry this wonder with you as you walk under the starlight or under the midday sun. Remember with every breath that you are ancient, you are infinite, and you are deeply loved by the universe that created you. Our journey together in this specific series comes to an end, but the exploration of your own cosmic soul is just beginning. You are the universe awakening, and the sound of that awakening is the most beautiful silence.